Hello, my dear friends. This is Grandpa Billy, and I'm so happy to share a new story with you. If you enjoy what I do, please support me with a like and a subscription. Your support is my greatest inspiration. And now, let's begin. The courtroom fell into an uneasy hush as Maverick stepped through towering oak doors. His large paws clicked steadily on the polished marble, echoing like a judge's gavel. Gray and white fur, groomed to shine under chandelier light, rippled with each measured step. Amber eyes, bright and unwavering, scanned the packed benches. Reporters, jurors, skeptics. He inhaled, deep, deliberate, and then spoke, voice low, resonant. I did not come here to entertain. I came to defend truth, to unearth justice, and to remind everyone that even a dog can change a life. Whispers rippled, tension crackled. Maverick's large frame moved with precision as he approached the bench. The judge, an elderly man with spectacles perched on the tip of his nose, eyed the dog skeptically. "So, Mr. Maverick, you're here to represent the defendant." Maverick's amber eyes never wavered. "Indeed, Your Honor," he said, his voice steady and commanding. "I will not let a man be condemned without a fair chance." The courtroom was silent, as if waiting for the world to stop spinning. Was this really happening? A dog? A lawyer? A case to be won? A talking dog? The prosecutor scoffed, leaning over the table. Maverick remained unfazed, eyes narrowed with intensity. "Yes," he replied, his voice cutting through the courtroom like a blade, "and your ignorance does not change the truth." The prosecutor sneered, but the judge, for the first time, raised an eyebrow. "Objection sustained," the judge announced, his voice grave. Gasps erupted around the room. This was more than a trial. It was history in the making. Outside the courthouse, reporters clamored for interviews. Cameras flashed. "A dog on trial?" one reporter questioned. "He's representing a man accused of corruption." Maverick walked past the throngs, his amber eyes scanning the chaos with detached calm. "The world is always full of doubt," he muttered under his breath, "but some truths are worth fighting for, no matter who or what stands in the way." As he entered his office, the weight of the case settled on his shoulders. Later that night, Maverick sat alone in his dimly lit office. Piles of case files surrounded him, but his focus remained unbroken. He stared at one particular file, his eyes locked onto it as if it held the key to everything. "They think I'm just a dog," he muttered, "but they're wrong." With a swift motion, he flipped open the file, revealing a critical piece of evidence. As he read the name on the page, his heart raced. This was it, the key to the truth. Maverick rose before dawn. The city sprawled silent below his office window, streetlights flickering like distant stars. He traced amber eyes over every document strewn across his desk, financial records, emails, witness statements. Each detail was a clue, a shard of truth buried under layers of deception. He growled softly, voice low. "This case isn't just about one man's freedom. It's about exposing a system that chews up lives." Determination set every muscle taut. His first witness waited in a sterile conference room, an accountant with shaky hands. Maverick entered, paws silent on the linoleum floor. The man froze, gulped. "Mr. Maverick," he stammered. The dog inclined his head, amber eyes piercing. "Tell the truth," he commanded, tone firm but patient. The accountant's voice trembled as he recounted off-the-book transactions, implicating powerful figures. Every revelation sent shockwaves through Maverick's mind. Armed with new evidence, Maverick returned to the courtroom. The gallery buzzed with anticipation. Prosecutors' lips curled into a sneer when the dog produced ledgers with a paw. "These are forged," he barked. Maverick's lips curled in return. Objectively, they matched bank records. The judge studied each page. The ledger's authenticity was undeniable. A murmur spread. The tide was turning. Maverick's silent confidence spoke volumes. Midday sunlight slanted through stained glass as Maverick cross-examined the city official. Slick, confident, untouchable. The man smirked until Maverick produced a recording, the official's own voice admitting bribes. The courtroom gasped. Maverick's growl rolled under his words. "You betrayed the public trust." The official paled, stuttered. For the first time, power trembled. Maverick watched his adversary crumble, every syllable a nail in their coffin. As afternoon shadows deepened, Maverick presented his closing argument. His voice resonated, each pause deliberate. "We have uncovered deceit, greed, betrayal, yet the victim remains unheard." He glanced at his client, weary but hopeful. "Your Honor, I ask not for mercy, but for justice." Silence reigned as he sat. A heartbeat, then two. The jury's eyes met across the room. Maverick exhaled. He had laid the storm bare now. Fate awaited. The verdict came at last. The room was thick with tension as the judge's gavel struck. Maverick stood motionless, his amber eyes scanning the room, weighing the silence that followed. The jury had spoken. He had won. His client, once shackled by fear, now walked free. But Maverick knew the battle was far from over. Corruption ran deep. The city was just the beginning. The dog's thoughts were already racing ahead. There was more work to be done, and he was ready. As the courtroom emptied, Maverick's mind didn't rest. The moment of victory was fleeting. He walked down the long hallway, the echo of his paws against the marble floor the only sound. A call came through. Another case, another corrupt official, another life ruined. Maverick let out a soft growl. The city might be asleep, but he never would. Not until every injustice was exposed. Not until the system, once built on lies, was brought to its knees. Maverick arrived at a dimly lit office, the walls lined with confidential files and folders. He pawed through the documents, each one telling a story of betrayal and greed. There was no time to rest. The next target was already in his sights. A politician with ties to organized crime. Maverick's amber eyes flicked over the evidence. He'd cracked the case wide open, but the deeper he dug, the more dangerous the game became. It was a game he had to win, no matter the cost. The night was thick with fog as Maverick sat on the rooftop, his gaze locked on the distant skyline. The city was full of secrets, but they all had their cracks, and he was going to find them. His mission was clear: expose the corrupt, protect the innocent, and dismantle a system built on lies. A howl of wind ruffled his fur, but Maverick remained still, unwavering. This was his fight, and he was in it for the long haul. No matter what, he would never back down. The next day, Maverick found himself standing before a powerful man, once untouchable, now cornered. The room was filled with tension, the kind you could feel in the air. "You can't win," the man sneered. Maverick's lips curled into a small smile. "We'll see about that." With one paw, he tossed a file across the table, evidence that could destroy this man's empire. His calm was unnerving. The game had changed, and Maverick was on the attack now. Maverick's investigation took him underground to a dark alley where whispers of betrayal grew louder. The stench of danger filled the air, and he knew this was where everything would converge. A figure emerged from the shadows, a contact with critical information. "They're watching you," the informant warned, voice trembling. Maverick's gaze sharpened. "Let them!" he growled, stepping forward. The truth would be uncovered no matter the cost. No one could stop him now. Hours passed, but Maverick remained on high alert. The city was sleeping, but he wasn't. He followed the trail, a relentless pursuit of the truth. His mind raced with theories, suspects, and possibilities. But one thing was clear. He was closing in. Every lead, every piece of the puzzle was falling into place. He could feel the weight of the case pressing on his shoulders, but Maverick didn't falter. He was born for moments like this. Maverick arrived at the final destination, a luxury penthouse overlooking the city. The door was locked, but he wasn't stopping now. With a single push, the door creaked open. Inside, the mastermind behind the entire conspiracy awaited. The tension in the air was thick as the two locked eyes. The game was over. Maverick's voice was low, a calm before the storm. "This ends now." The dog stepped inside, ready to bring the final piece of justice to the table. The confrontation was brief, but intense. Maverick's keen instincts told him that the mastermind was not just a criminal, he was a puppet master. His empire, built on lies, had taken root in every corner of the city. But Maverick was ready to expose it all. "You're finished," the dog said, his voice calm, but full of authority. In the final moments, as the truth came crashing down, Maverick watched the criminal's facade crumble. The city was about to be set free. As the criminal was arrested, Maverick stood silently by. The city had taken its first step toward healing, but Maverick knew that this victory was only the beginning. There were more cases, more injustice to confront. His job was never done. He looked out over the city, amber eyes reflecting the skyline. The fight for truth would never end, but Maverick was ready. With a final glance at the horizon, he turned and disappeared into the shadows, already preparing for the next challenge. Later that night, Maverick sat at his desk, reviewing the case files. Every page was a testament to the fight for justice, and each one marked a victory. But the deeper truth was that there would always be more battles ahead. The dog's gaze shifted from the files to the window, where the moon cast a pale light over the city. He knew this was his purpose. He was a defender of truth, and no matter the cost, he would always be there to fight. Months passed, and Maverick's reputation grew. He was known as the dog who never gave up, the one who always brought justice. But even as his cases piled up, he never lost sight of what mattered most: the truth. One evening, while walking the streets, Maverick encountered an old friend, a former police officer. "You're making a real difference, Maverick," the officer said. The dog paused, amber eyes gleaming with pride. "We all are," Maverick replied, before continuing his work. As Maverick made his way through the city's underbelly once again, he encountered new faces, new enemies, but also new allies. The fight for justice was ongoing, and with each case, Maverick was growing stronger. His instincts sharpened, and his understanding of the system deepened. But even as he faced greater challenges, the dog never lost his sense of duty. No matter how dark the path, Maverick knew the light of truth would always guide him. Maverick stood at the entrance of a rundown warehouse, his ears perked, listening for any movement inside. He had a tip. A criminal organization was using this place as a base. As the dog pushed the door open, the smell of damp air and danger hit him. But Maverick was unfazed. He knew what had to be done. His heart beat steadily, his amber eyes sharp. No matter the odds, no matter the risk, Maverick was always ready to face the darkness. Maverick inhaled the stale air and padded inside, every muscle coiled like a spring. Moonlight slanted through broken windows, painting the dust in silver. He paused, ears forward, nostrils flaring. Voices whispered down the corridor. With a low growl, he slipped between crates stacked high, paused silent on the cold concrete. Ahead, henchmen argued over crates of cash. Maverick's amber eyes gleamed. He pressed a paw against a loose plank, ready to strike. With pinpoint precision, Maverick lunged, silent, swift. He knocked over a crate, sending cash spilling. Henchmen yelped, guns raised. Maverick's growl rolled like thunder. He darted between legs, knocking weapons aside, jaws flashing. The men stumbled, confusion reigniting panic. One fired a shot. Ricochet barked off metal. Maverick froze, eyes narrowing. He barked once, sharp, commanding. Men dropped their weapons. They had underestimated him. Fatal mistake. Sirens wailed outside. Maverick knew backup was coming, but time was short. He bounded to a crate marked "Confidential," paws scraping. With a powerful shove, it tipped, revealing a hidden safe. He scratched at the dial until it clicked open, exposing files tagged with names. Politicians, judges, law enforcement. Evidence of corruption writ large. Maverick barked twice. Urgent signal. Backup howled in response. Together, they'd expose it all. Moments later, Maverick stood before a wall of evidence taped to glass. Photographs, documents, video stills. Reporters and police gathered, their faces stunned. He growled softly, then barked, 3 sharp barks that echoed. A hush fell. Then cameras snapped. His silent command, "Share this truth." The evidence went live on every screen in the city. The conspiracy unraveled in real time. Maverick watched them gasp, realizing the enormity of what he'd unleashed. The next morning, headlines screamed, "Pup prosecutor unmasks city's underbelly." Maverick read the articles on his tablet, tail thumping. Justice was in motion. Yet he felt a shadow of doubt. Was the system truly shifting or merely rearranging its players? He closed the tablet, eyes steely. "This is only Act 1, he murmured. The sun rose, illuminating the skyline. Maverick slipped away into the city streets, ready for the next chapter. In the quiet of dawn, Maverick returned to his humble office. A former firehouse turned makeshift legal HQ. Dust motes danced in the slanting light as he set a fresh stack of case files on the table. His paws tapped a steady rhythm. "Another day, another injustice," he mused, voice low and measured. He opened the top file, a whistleblower's dossier on a pharmaceutical giant, a crooked deal that endangered lives. His amber eyes gleamed. He was ready. Maverick paced among towering shelves of legal tomes and evidence bins. He paused at a file marked Underground Lab. His heart pounded. Reports spoke of illegal testing, innocent victims, desperate families. He growled, a low rumble of righteous anger. "They'll pay," he promised. He grabbed the file, his paws brushing over photographs of frightened faces. Tonight, he would expose them, no matter how deeply they tried to bury the truth. At midnight, Maverick slipped into the abandoned warehouse once more. His instincts guided him past hidden traps and silent alarms. He found the lab, cold metal tables, glass vials, cruel instruments. He sniffed the air, detecting chemical traces of experimental drugs. With a swift motion, he knocked over a container, releasing a burst of papers. Patient records, test logs, evidence spilled like proof of their sins. Police sirens blared again as Maverick emerged with stolen files clamped in his jaws. He darted through the labyrinth of shipping containers, the moonlight guiding his path. Behind him, guards shouted and alarms screamed, yet he moved with precision, an orchestrated dance of survival. Reaching safety, he dropped the files at a reporter's feet. For the world to see, he seemed to say, eyes burning with defiance. The next morning, headlines exploded. Malicious pharma exposed by dog detective. Maverick watched the chaos from his office window. The city buzzed with outrage and relief. But he felt only a moment's peace. There were still secrets, deeper, darker. He turned from the window, tail swishing thoughtfully. "Time for cleanup," he whispered, voice heavy with purpose. He gathered fresh files. The war was far from over. Maverick sat across from his newest client, a mother desperate to find her missing child. The tears in her eyes were the kind no one could fake. She handed him a photograph. "This is the last place she was seen," she said, her voice breaking. Maverick leaned forward, the weight of the case settling in. He'd solved many, but this one felt different. He didn't just want to find the child, he needed to, for her, for justice. Maverick's investigation led him to an abandoned hospital, its walls whispering of old, forgotten experiments. His senses were on high alert as he carefully navigated the dark hallways. A cold draft sent shivers through his fur. Then he found it. An old room filled with medical records. The case was about to break wide open. He could feel it, and this time he wouldn't stop until every truth came to light. Maverick stared at the hidden cameras in the darkened hospital room. The criminals had been watching him all along. The truth was about to explode in their faces. But first, he needed to get the evidence to the right people. He snatched the last file from the desk and dashed out, his paws tapping a steady rhythm on the concrete floor. They would regret ever underestimating him. Maverick stood in the parking lot, the night air thick with anticipation. The stolen documents were now in the hands of a trusted journalist, ready to be broadcasted to the world. But the criminal syndicate had one final card to play, an attempt on his life. As the first car sped toward him, Maverick's reflexes kicked in. He jumped, landing on the roof, the vehicle screeching beneath him. "Not today," he muttered. The syndicate's final move was a trap. They thought they had him cornered in an old, rundown factory. But Maverick had already anticipated their every move. As the doors slammed shut, he slipped into the shadows, listening to the enemy's footsteps echoing off the walls. With a swift motion, he pounced, knocking a weapon from one of the assailant's hands. "I don't play fair," Maverick grinned, his tail wagging. Maverick was finally face to face with the mastermind behind the criminal syndicate. The man laughed, thinking he had won. But Maverick knew the truth was already out. With a final determined bark, Maverick leapt, knocking the man to the ground. Police stormed in seconds later. Maverick stood tall, his tail held high in triumph. "Justice never sleeps," he said, eyes glowing with quiet satisfaction. The aftermath was silent. The police had taken the criminal syndicate down, but Maverick knew the battle wasn't over. There were always more shadows to chase, more mysteries to solve. He walked down the empty streets, his paw steps echoing as the city began to wake up. He had made a difference tonight, but tomorrow would bring a new case, a new challenge. Maverick wasn't done yet. Maverick's phone buzzed. It was a new case, a disappearance in the middle of the city. The message was simple: find them. There was no time to waste. Without hesitation, Maverick sprang into action, heading straight for his car. He had no idea who was behind it, but he knew one thing: whoever it was wouldn't get away. Not on his watch. The trail led him to an upscale neighborhood. Luxury cars lined the streets, but the house he was looking for was different. It stood at the end of a cul-de-sac, its lights dim and uninviting. Maverick sniffed the air, his instincts guiding him. The scent of something wrong was stronger now. He approached the house with caution, his paws silent on the cobblestone driveway. Whoever was inside wouldn't know what hit them. Maverick slipped inside the mansion, the air thick with tension. The lights flickered as he moved through the halls, his paws barely making a sound. He could hear voices in the distance, but they weren't the ones he was looking for. The missing person was somewhere in this house, and Maverick was determined to find them. As he neared the door to a study, he paused. A figure was just beyond it. Maverick bared his teeth, ready for whatever came next. Maverick burst into the room, his paws pounding against the floor as he charged. The man inside didn't have time to react before Maverick was on him, knocking him to the ground. The missing person was tied up in the corner, weak but alive. Maverick let out a sharp bark, calling for the police to move in. The criminal struggled, but Maverick held him down, his strength unyielding. "Not so tough now," Maverick growled. Maverick's job wasn't done yet. As the police took the criminal away, the rescued person thanked him with tears in their eyes. Maverick nodded silently, his eyes softening for a brief moment. But his mind was already on the next challenge. He had to stay sharp. There were always more people who needed his help, and he couldn't afford to stop now. He walked back out into the cold night, his fur ruffling in the wind. The hunt was far from over. Maverick sat in the car, eyes focused on the road ahead. The next case was already calling. A new mystery, a new person in need of help. His paws twitched slightly, and he barked once, signaling his readiness. The adventure never stopped, and Maverick wouldn't have it any other way. As the engine roared to life, he glanced out the window, the city lights flickering in the distance. It was time to move forward, one case at a time. In the glow of dawn, Maverick paused atop a hill overlooking the city he swore to protect. His coat rippled in the breeze, every scar and strand illuminated by soft morning light. He inhaled deeply, amber eyes reflecting skyscrapers and streets below. Somewhere, someone was calling for help, and he would answer, no matter the hour. With a resolute bark, he bounded down the slope, ready to dive headfirst into whatever darkness lay ahead. That evening, a charity gala buzzed with opulence and hidden agendas. Maverick slipped through the crowd on silent paws, tuxedo bow tie snug beneath his chin. He observed as wealthy patrons exchanged favors, unaware of the darker deals unfolding. When a politician excused himself into a side room, Maverick followed. His amber gaze gleamed. He had intercepted a coded message that could topple empires if revealed. Maverick's final act of the night. He delivered the intercepted message to an investigative journalist waiting nearby. The journalist's eyes widened as she realized the magnitude of the expose. Maverick watched, tail low but proud, as she loaded the story. The city would awaken to truths long buried. He had done it again, turned whispers into roars. As the first headlines broke, Maverick vanished into the dark alley, a silent guardian ready for the next fight. Maverick sat atop a rooftop, his eyes locked on the distant lights of the city he vowed to protect. The scent of rain lingered in the air, but the storm was not yet here. He knew it was only a matter of time before the next storm hit, whether it was from above or below. His sharp ears caught every sound, every whisper. He didn't need to wait for the thunder. He was ready. As the first raindrops fell, Maverick jumped into action, charging into the night. Maverick raced through the streets, his paws pounding against wet pavement. A crime syndicate was targeting an innocent family, and he would not let them fall victim. As he neared the target location, he slowed, listening carefully. He could hear muffled voices through the walls. With a low growl, Maverick sneaked through an open window, his sleek body slipping into the room like a shadow. The criminals didn't see him coming. Before they could react, they were already trapped. The investigation had reached its peak. Maverick stood beside the journalist as she reviewed the evidence, a mountain of corruption and scandal that could destroy the city's most powerful. But one piece of the puzzle was still missing. The final link. Maverick sniffed the air, a low growl rumbling in his chest. He had the scent. He knew where to go next. The chase wasn't over. It was time to confront the mastermind behind the entire operation. Through dark alleys and shadowed corners, Maverick tracked the elusive mastermind. His nose led him straight to a hidden safe house where the final meeting was about to take place. He could hear the voice inside, the leader's laugh echoing off the walls. Maverick paused. His heart raced, not from fear, but from the anticipation of justice. It was time. With a burst of speed, he crashed through the door, silencing the villain before they could escape. With the mastermind apprehended, Maverick stood tall, watching as the police took the villain into custody. The city was safe once again, but Maverick knew this victory wouldn't last long. The world was filled with threats, both big and small. His work was never truly over. As the sun began to rise, casting a golden light over the city, Maverick took one last look before turning and disappearing into the streets. He would always be ready, just one call away. Maverick stood in the police precinct's evidence lockup, amber eyes scanning rows of sealed exhibits. He gently nose-tapped a folder marked Operation Safe Haven. Detectives watched in awe as he presented the final piece, the rescue plan for child trafficking victims. "They'll need every advantage," he thought, voice hushed. He pawed open the folder, revealing maps and contact lists. Justice demanded precision. Maverick would deliver both plan and hope, no matter the risk. At twilight, Maverick retreated to his office, weary but unbowed. A fresh dossier lay waiting. Anonymous tip, high-level cover-up. He growled softly, recalling the price of silence. With deliberate pause, he opened the dossier, eyes narrowing, coded memos implicating a charity board. "They prey on the vulnerable," he murmured, voice low. He would expose them. This time the victims were children in need of refuge. Maverick's resolve burned brighter than ever. Maverick slipped into the charity gala under false guise, black tuxedo bow snug beneath his collar. Crystal chandeliers sparkled while elite patrons mingled. He observed a director whispering to a guard, slipping envelopes under the table, His hackles rose. With a stealthy pivot, he knocked over a tray of champagne flutes, shards scattered. Gasps followed as he darted between guests, jaws gently clamping the incriminating envelopes. The rot was laid bare. The next morning, Maverick joined a press briefing on the courthouse steps. Cameras flashed as he stood beside the district attorney, evidence envelopes on display. Reporters shouted questions. How can a dog carry a case? Maverick tilted his head, ears perked. Then his voice rumbled, "Justice demands courage, not credentials." Microphones picked up every word. The crowd fell silent, absorbing the truth. He had shifted perceptions, one bark at a time. As dusk fell, Maverick returned home to his firehouse office, his sanctuary. Flames danced in the hearth, shadows flickering across his powerful frame. He settled by the fire, tail curled, notebook open on his lap. Every victory breeds another fight, he reflected, voice soft. He jotted tomorrow's cases: human trafficking, environmental crimes, political corruption. The embers glowed. So did his resolve. Maverick closed his eyes, ready for the battles ahead. The embers died low, but Maverick's resolve burned on. He rose, stretching powerful limbs, amber eyes reflecting the hearth's glow. Outside, dawn's first light crept over the city skyline, the same city he had vowed to protect. He stepped to the window, paused silent on the wooden floor. Every story ends, he mused softly, voice gentle, but every ending breeds a new beginning. He inhaled the cool morning air, ready for whatever came next. Maverick gathered his coat and briefcase, tools of the trade, symbols of his duty. He paused at the door, casting one last look at his sanctuary. Memories of every case, every rescue flickered in his mind like pages of a book. He allowed himself a brief smile, then, with a confident bark, he strode into the hallway, each step deliberate, each step a promise. The world awaited him, and he would be there, always vigilant, always ready. At the precinct steps, children waved as Maverick passed, their faces alight with hope. Reporters whispered legends of the dog who changed the system. Yet he saw only duty, clear as daylight. He paused, head tilted, amber eyes meeting theirs, then barked, a single powerful note that echoed promise. He vanished down the street, silhouette shrinking against the rising sun. The legend lived on, but the work, that would never end.